We are live, great. Hallo zusammen. Heute ein besonderer Stream, wie häufiger sonntags. Heute ganz besonders. Wir haben heute einen Gast, den Dom. Heute geht es zum Thema IT, wie baut man, also zum Thema Appbau und so weiter und so fort. Ihr seht es in der Beschreibung unten. Wird ganz spannend. Der Dom weiß sehr, sehr viel, der hat richtig einen Plan davon. Ich hoffe, ihr seid alle da, damit wir gut darüber reden können. Vor allem Chichurita. Ich warte noch ein paar Minuten bevor wir anfangen. Also 1-2 Minuten, bis ihr da seid. Ich schreibe im Discord nochmal, dass es losgeht. Und dann kann man heute einen schönen Stream verbringen. Aktuell zeigt es ganz schön viele Fehler an. Ich hoffe, es geht einigermaßen. Wird es besser? Jo, geht runter. Alles gut. Koya, schön, dass du da bist. Grüß dich. Und Chichurita, perfekt. Okay, gut. Ja, es geht jetzt auch runter mit jeder Sekunde. Es zeigt aktuell 40 an, aber also eben waren es 50 und jetzt sind wir schon bei 40 und es geht immer mehr runter. Also weiß nicht, was da eben das Problem war am Anfang. Kisenon, perfekt. Prima, ich freue mich, dass ihr da seid. Wie gesagt, ich habe es eben schon mal gesagt, ich sage es nochmal, heute ist der Dom im Stream. Heute geht es um IT. Alle Fragen können wir jetzt heute da den Dom fragen. Der weiß sehr genau über die Sachen da Bescheid. Das wird spannend. So, ich stelle ihn schon mal kurz vor, wenn ihr da seid, könnt ihr schon mal vorstellen. Der Dom ist IT-Leiter bei einem mittelständigen Unternehmen. Ist dort wenn es irgendein Problem gibt, die haben so eine, das kann ich mal kurz erzählen, die haben so eine wenn es irgendwelche Probleme gibt, wie macht man, wie geht man da vor, ne? Was tut man da? Und der letzte Punkt ist immer, frag Dom. Also da wisst ihr Bescheid, was da los ist, wie er zu beurteilen hat. Also wenn quasi alles schief geht, wenn alles nichts funktioniert, dann könnt ihr Dom fragen. Und das ist genau das, was wir heute Abend machen. Deswegen freut es mich, dass du da bist, Chichurita, weil bei UX-Design oder bei den ganzen anderen Sachen, ne, da weiß ich schon ungefähr, was ich wissen will, da weiß ich Fragen, die ich stellen kann. Bei diesem Thema bin ich mehr oder weniger raus. Ich kann nur am Rande so ein bisschen in dem Moment Fragen stellen, aber so wirklich weiß ich nicht, what to do quasi. Ich habe es euch schon gesagt, der Dom kommt aus England, in der Nähe von London, und deswegen ist der Stream heute wieder auf Englisch. Aber das hat das letzte Mal auch gut geklappt. Ihr könnt es super gut. Ich versuche mich durchzuwursteln irgendwie mit dem Englisch. Und ja, gucken wir mal. Ich darf keinen erzählen, dass ich mal ein Jahr lang in Australien gewohnt habe. Dafür ist mein Englisch wirklich schlecht, ich weiß. Es war schon mal deutlich besser, ist ja auch schon ein paar Jahre her, dass ich dort war. Okay, also quasi deswegen gleich die Aufforderung an euch, wenn ihr sofort eine Frage habt, dann schreibt sie in den Chat. Ich hole den jetzt gleich rein, also der ist schon da, der Dom im Hintergrund. Und ja, ich kann so vielleicht 1, 2 im Start Fragen stellen, aber dann brauche ich heute dringend eure Hilfe, weil ich nicht so richtig weiß, was wir zu tun haben. Wir können auch ein paar Fragen zum Thema Animation stellen. Auch da kennt er sich gut aus. Also immer raus damit. Wenn ihr was wissen wollt, dann jetzt reintackern. So. Pam, pam, pam. Ich hoffe, jetzt hier alles mit der Technik klappt. Okay, da kommen schon die ersten Fragen. Und here we go. Der hier ist, wir müssen noch ein Stück kleiner machen. Ah ja. You are important on me. So. So, Dom. Hi. Again.
Hello.
Awesome that you do this with us today, tonight, whatever. Really, really thank you very much. There are already a few questions in the chat. So first question from me: do you see the stream next to you, or because if not, so I read all the question and give it to you.
I just see your face.
Okay. Okay. Poor guy. Then. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you again. Awesome. I told them that in your company there's like a guideline what to do if there's a problem. You did understand. And last point is always ask them. Okay. First question is from Chidrita. Which technologies or coding speech or frameworks you use or your company?
Well, I've been working as a software engineer, trying to build products digitally for about 12 years now. So over that time, lots has changed, and I've used lots of different frameworks. Oh, lots has changed. And a lot of it makes me feel old. It happens so quickly. You see new frameworks, new things coming through on a monthly basis. I think something that's really gaining in popularity recently that I am quite excited by is a lot of these different frameworks for transpiling for mobile apps. You'll see things like, I guess this comes from Cordova and PhoneGap to begin with, but Kivy, I think, is another one, and Flutter, where you can write in a particular language and transpile that to an iOS app or an Android app or whatever else. And I think that's quite exciting. It's quite a cool development because it means you don't have to necessarily think, how do I make this particular thing, but how do I best make this particular thing? And that opens up a lot of possibilities.
Okay, so the answer is the answer of the question is like there are uncounted tools and things you use.
I think the question actually was like, what do I use? And I think the thing I've been using most over the last couple of years is React JavaScript in the client side and server side, really.
Okay, great. Hallo, Herr Gartenzaun, grüß dich, schönen Abend dir. Okay, I just read the question because I didn't understand even the question. Your opinion to React Native?
I like it. I think that it's a bit like where you have something like Flutter or PhoneGap. If you're able to write in one language and then have that work on, let's say, Android and iOS immediately, that can be really important for a young business or a side project where you want to prove really quickly that something does or doesn't work. If I'm starting a new company, I want to fail as quickly as I can. And that means I want to show it to lots of people and see what they think. And React Native can be really good for this because of a few reasons. One is lots of people know JavaScript, lots of people know React, and then React Native is not so much of a further step away from that. And then you can deploy something quickly. It has disadvantages, of course. It has disadvantages in maybe how fast it can run versus a native app. But if you want to do something quickly and immediately or prototype something, I think it can be really powerful.
Okay. Just a little hint, even from the chat or from you, what is a React Native? What does it mean?
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, probably it's better than to write when somebody writes.
Yeah. It's a framework for building mobile applications. You can write JavaScript in a particular framework that then can be built into an iOS app and an Android app, and I think probably some others as well, without having to write separate apps for Android, iOS, whatever else.
Okay. You know, do you know our idea or what we were going to do?
A little bit.
Okay, then let me just quick explain it again, and that you know, are we on the, that you can answer us the question, are we on the right way, on the right step to do this? Because our thing is that we want to build an app or an app or a web app, whatever, and where you can buy coupons and just build around the coupons like an animation where you can send it to other people and to the like a present, but it's like digital present paper. And the thing is, what we want to do is at the moment. So that's this how it looks at the moment, that we are able to maybe even make like an API to other companies who sell coupons can use our software. So I think, did I miss somebody, chat? Yeah. So the main product is animations, like a present, and you can open the present. You click something, then the present open, and then you see like something comes out, and at the end there's your coupon code or like and so on, a video from yourself if you like, or a message and so on. Because you know the normal way to do it today is just like the best thing is an e-card, or the most
Common.
Yeah, like e-cards, and that's not our time. That's not nothing. Nobody did something like the last 10 years for this. Yeah, so if you would be the IT chief or IT people who have to code it, how would you start? What would you do?
I think there's a few things to think about to begin with, and one of them really is to think about who might be your customer, what device they're going to use, whether they're going to be installing an app or using a web browser, whether they're going to be looking at a desktop computer or a phone. That's, I think, the very first place to think about how to start, what the experience should be like for the person, I guess, who is receiving the gift code rather than the person who is sending. And then I would try and think about from there, what's the fastest way to prove something, to make at least a prototype, to get something that me and my colleagues can agree on is a good idea. I think there's a lot of things to think about: maintainability or not building technical debt for the future. But those things I think are are very secondary, in my opinion, to being able to prove or disprove an idea. And I think once you have identified, okay, who's going to be opening this, who's going to be looking at it, what device, I would quickly try and think, what's the fastest way to do something that's even a bit crap, even a bit rubbish, just to see if it works and other people like it, get some feedback. You don't necessarily have to launch it that way, but get some feedback quickly.
Okay, we didn't get feedback, but made a test, and the most common people, or the most people of group were women in the age of 25 to 35. So all the younger people clicked on it. So it's not over 40. It's the group of people who or the people who clicked on it over 40 are really less. So yeah, that was the solution. But we didn't get feedback because we couldn't show something because we not yet have anything.
I mean, even think of ways to do really expensive, terrible versions. Like you could film yourselves opening a box and showing a piece of paper with a number on it as the video for your first 3 customers and see how they feel about it, what they think could be different. Because that might end up being a hell of a lot cheaper than developing an app that then the first 300 customers think could be different, or you need to start from scratch or something.
Okay, good point. We should do this. It could be fun, I guess.
I think it would be a lot of fun, yeah.
Okay, there's another question from chat. Do you have an idea what's the best technology to send your digital gift from one device to another device, for example, through email or text message or link, or is it there a possibility to send this animation to another device without that the gifted has to accept it, so that the digital gift just pops up at his phone?
I think, yeah, I mean, when you're thinking of a product like this, I think most of the people who are receiving it probably don't already have something installed on their phone. They don't already have an app installed on their phone. So you've got to then think about the things that they do have. The internet, email, WhatsApp, maybe Telegram, whatever else. Anything that you can send over these mediums and open easily with one click. Those are the type of things you can be going for. And to me, I think that leads me more towards web technologies. Just send somebody a link or an email with a button in it that opens up something online.
Online means that if you click it, like the web browser starts and it stops.
Yeah, something like this.
Okay, good point. Because when we started the idea, I thought about how's it called? Or somebody said it, and then I thought it's great. Instant app. Do you know this?
I think I know this, where you have like a little snippet of an app that can open.
Yeah. Point. So you don't have to install something, or you don't have to have anything, but you can like try a version, and try a version is getting the gift. So what's my opinion?
I heard about that last year. It sounds very cool. I have no experience with it whatsoever. And I have yet to see it in person, actually.
Yeah.
But
me too. But Google already started this 2017. So I thought,
okay,
why is nobody using it?
I don't know. One of the things that I would definitely say is try it. Like spend 8 hours or less testing it out. See if it works on your phone or somebody else's phone.
Yeah.
You can invest small amounts of time into lots of experiments like that, but give up on them if they don't work.
Okay. So, but does it need only 8 hours to code?
No, but you could do some proof of concept where it doesn't necessarily open up the full product, but just something to see what works and what doesn't.
Okay.
I have no experience with it whatsoever, so I wouldn't know how long it might take, but I think it might be worthwhile just spending a bit of time looking into it.
Mm.
I think in terms of technology choice, once you get past these big things of who's doing it and what are they doing, um, it's a bit like a diet. Like the best one is the one that works for whoever. So if you can make something that works and you can make it quickly or at low cost or whatever is your factor that is most important to you at that time,
Yeah.
that's the right approach to take, I think.
Okay. It sounds all very smart. It sounds like you did that before a few times to concept something.
I've, I've made a few mistakes, definitely, where I've worked on things for way too long or looked in the wrong direction for a way too costly solution and then realized nobody liked what I did anyway after months and months of work.
Hmm.
I think everybody's got this experience, whether it's software engineering or otherwise. There's always something where you're like, oh man, I should have just stopped much sooner. Um, but such is life, I think.
Hmm. So your advice is just make like an really bad version and try it and test it.
Yeah, I think your critical point really isn't make sure that the technology you use now can scale to 7 billion people.
Hmm.
The critical point is, will your first, second, or third customer recommend it to somebody else? Will they
Yeah.
then use it to send it to the fourth and fifth customer?
That's the point.
And even if you have just a couple of months go by and you see lots and lots more people using it, that is so good an incentive to ask somebody else or to invest more of your own time into making it scale better, into making it work better. I really think at this very early stage, don't really worry about making everything perfect, because it'll either not work out, like most ideas in the market don't, and then you say, oh, thank goodness I didn't spend too long on that. Or it'll work out and you say, okay, great, let's invest more. Let's do stage 2 or stage 3.
Okay. How difficult is it then if when you already built something and you tried it and somebody and you the people like it to change it to make it like perfect or makes it better? Is it difficult to change then? Or
It can be, but you will always have to change something. You'll always have to improve something about what you're offering. There's this great example. Slack started off, the company that makes Slack,
yeah.
they started off as a games company, and they realized that the game wasn't really working, but the internal chat tool they built to speak to one another was really working. And so they just completely changed how their whole company was working, what
Ah,
their
okay.
product was.
That's interesting. Great.
And so really the quality of the game code that they built was meaningless.
Yeah.
And there's, I think, a lot of different avenues you might end up going down, but you can't know those ahead of time. You can't know those until you put it to the ultimate test, which is to show it to the market, see what people think, see whether your numbers are going up or down,
Yeah.
and then react to that.
Okay. Oh, that's great. So it's just that's interesting. So it's like build a game, and they build a game with with a communication in there, so you can communicate with other people.
I don't even know if they built it inside the game. I think they built it just to talk to each other in the office.
Okay.
Uh, which is a good outcome for them, I guess. But
Okay.
I think lots of companies who are just continually looking at the data and adjusting to it. I think one example for this might be, I have recently downloaded a game on Steam.
Yeah.
I bought a game online and I could send it to a friend as a gift.
Yeah.
You might find out after a few months that game certificates or sending games to people might become like your biggest area, and you focus the app one way, or it doesn't. Nobody uses it because Steam does this already very well. So you focus it away from games, and I think that's stuff that you can't know now. You won't be able to tell yet, but so don't waste time building the perfect product.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. That would be a really big because I'm like try to do always to do the best I can when I create something. So I would push to make it even better and better and better before we go out. So you say, please don't.
I mean, there's a way to balance that feeling, and I have this too. I really hate producing work that I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you can do is look for your first customers, look for your first people who give you feedback as people you trust. Your partners, your parents, your friends, cousins, whoever,
Yeah.
who you can embarrass yourself in front of, because we embarrass ourselves in front of our family at Christmas every year. So what's the problem of another thing?
Yeah.
So I think you can do trusted customers and then get their feedback, and most of the time you'll already know what I need to improve next. But that can also be an opportunity to get yourself excited to do more.
Okay. Okay. Just the chat said the founder of Slack just wanted to make a game. Was one of his wishes as a child, but after his first game wasn't successful, but the company offered also other perfect solutions and got sold for 100 million. So yeah, perfect IT solutions. Okay.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. If only it was that easy.
So I guess now he can live it, not build a good game.
Yeah, maybe he's building a game now.
Yeah, true. Okay, and there's another thing. Google Instant actually only requires that the app is less than 15 MB. Everything else is the same as just programming a normal app. Okay. Okay. Then we founded Slack to create his game, but this again didn't work out. But the chat tool in the company was very well. This is how Slack was created. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Koya, for getting us the information about this. So, while you were telling me something, I had a really big question and now I forgot it. But I really love your comment to say just make it finish. So finish something. And try to give it to people and tell and ask them how they think it is. Okay.
It's really hard advice to follow. I fail to follow it on most of the side projects I do. And sometimes there will be situations where you think, actually, I don't want to do that. If it's a side project or it's not something for money, you just want to be learning about something, maybe you spend a bit more time over it. But a business, if you're being employed by somebody or if you're starting something with somebody, like in this case, I think you probably want to try and flip what you're doing. You don't want to prove that it will be a success. You want to prove that it won't be. And so you want to try and do everything you can as quickly as possible to stop you spending money you don't have to, essentially.
Yeah, because we talked about how many animations we will be have to start when we start the app. But if you say so, I think about even if we start with one animation, the main point is that we start and that we see will use anyone this app.
Yeah, you might start showing it to friends and family and say, this is great, I would never use it unless there were more than 10 animations. Mm-hmm. Or they might say, this is great, I would use it just as it is, or something in between. Yeah, okay. The other thing as well is that people will give you conflicting feedback, which is the hard thing to deal with.
Then I will show it you.
Yeah, there are a few people I think that you can get feedback from.
Yeah. So Chidrida wrote MVP, minimum valuable product. Is it that?
That's exactly it. Yeah. I once worked on a project for IKEA. We were building a piece of software to go inside IKEA stores, and the MVP was so terrible for this giant multinational that we launched just in the first store in East London somewhere. And a lot of the work that was happening, the calculation work, was happening manually inside our office in London.
Yeah.
So whenever somebody was at a terminal, a little iPad in the store, they'd
Okay.
press buttons, it would
No,
spin
really?
for a few seconds and they would get an answer back. And because we had just, I think, 1.5 weeks to launch, we just did it so that somebody was in the office waiting to reply on the keyboard, typing it in, and it would come back on the screen as a calculated result.
Great.
And then then we started building that up when we saw that people were actually using it. I wouldn't recommend that. That was incredibly stressful, but you can you can do all sorts of shortcuts just to prove that it can be worthwhile to begin with.
I guess I saw the show in Germany. It's called Lion something, where you can, when you're a startup, you can show your idea to people who have a lot of money. And there's an English version as well. It started even in English. And the German IT, there was one guy is sitting there, a German IT people who's really famous for his companies. And he said he started a company for something with photos. And the first version they built didn't even work, but they built like so you couldn't click somewhere, but it just looked fine. So it was not working. It was not working at all. But they showed their customers, hey, have a look, great. It looks great, and that's what we're going to do. And they explained what happens in the background, but it didn't do. But they told them, and the people and the customers said, oh, great, we want that. And they said, okay, then we need like 1 million to finish it, and need 2 more months. And I guess they needed at the end, he said, 2 years to build it. And they just said, we need a bit more time. And after 2 years, it was great. But they got it, actually. And they sold it then for many millions. And yeah, that's the same point you said.
I think the most extreme example I've heard of this kind of story is Dropbox. Dropbox is probably over 10 years old now, but they launched by just creating a single page website saying what Dropbox is and an email form where you could fill in your email and like sign up for updates for when the product would launch. And they did nothing. They didn't build any product whatsoever.
Okay.
And they sent it to, I think, Hacker News or like Product Hunt and some sites like this. And it was only when they had 10,000 signups, they were like, okay, we better start work on the software now.
No, really?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter for you if not many people sign up. So who cares? Then you say, oh, sorry. Didn't work.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. Okay. Awesome. So there's one more question I have, but it's not with apps. It's with our animations, about our animations. Because we have struggled a lot to how to animate, what to use, and how to do it. I know you have a bit experience in this as well. So what software would you use, or is there any you can recommend how to get animations?
It's hard. If you look around the internet, or if you look at some of these freelancer sites, you can hire graphic designers doing 3D work for 800 to 1,000 euros per day. It can be really expensive because it can be still quite hard work to do. But there are, like photographs, there are 3D modeling things that are free online, like without licenses, that you can then take and adapt and use for your own purposes. Yeah. And I think this would be the place I looked first, before then going to a professional and asking somebody to build it from scratch for me. Yeah. Like, is there anything that has a open license for a 3D model for something like Blender, or there's a few of these similar programs, 3ds Max, something like this. And I think there's also an Adobe program for doing the same kind of thing. And if you can find some free models that get you 80% of the way there, maybe that is enough, firstly, to show to people with a watermark all over and say, how do you like this?
Yeah.
Does this look shit or great or somewhere in between? And maybe that's also then something that you can build on and edit and change as well. And that's where I would start, but I have to note, really, I'm not a professional in that field.
The chat said we are considering SVG animations. What's
Ah,
that?
cool. That's cool. I assume that would be 2D animations at that point.
Yeah, I talked to Enrique again about this animation thing, and he said he use Adobe After Effects. He's not using Animate. He's using After Effects for everyone who's in chat and so. Okay. Yeah. Yes. For the first. Okay. It's we're considering SVG for the first. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. There's I think I sent it to you before, Paul. Like Lottie Files, I think is a good example of one of these galleries with free 2D SVG animations on it.
Yeah, I didn't send to anyone else it, so nobody knows. But you gave me this. I remember. And Claudia asked somebody about Fiverr. That's what you said. Just ask people. He said they are in countries who that money what you give is a lot more money than if you ask a German guy to do it. So we can get it for less money probably. So we
definitely. I've hired software engineers and graphic designers from Fiverr, and I think it used to be called Upwork, or the other one of them was called Upwork. Yeah. The quality can vary. You get what you pay. You get what you pay for generally.
Okay,
but the sites have like star ratings, so you can filter out the right people and who you want as well. But it can be really useful for like just a one-time shot, relatively cheap piece of work, which is almost exactly your use case here. Okay. But it depends on whether you have the money or want to spend the money on this.
G-Trader just said, really good 3D designer we will have in our team soon.
Nice.
His friend is one of the guy. Great G-Trader.
Then I think that would be the person to ask right away, like, how do we get started? What's the first step?
Yeah, that's the point. G-Trader, maybe we can ask him what to do first. If he can start like later or something, so we just how Dom said, make a version who's where we can test with other people before he starts, if you like. Okay, great. Lottie Files, true. So, and there's one big question I have. What do you think? How difficult is it if we, for example, we build something and we build animations and people liked it? How difficult is it if we want to get our product to give our product to other shops that they can use it in their software, like an API? Is that difficult? What do you think?
Not necessarily. It depends on how you build the application or applications. But I don't think it's more difficult to take input from another machine on the internet than it is to take input from a human typing in. So it shouldn't necessarily be an order of magnitude harder, but it can offer some difficulty sometimes. That the ideal, I guess, would be to have this as a product that can integrate into Amazon, for example.
Yeah.
But you might end up starting with smaller web shops and things that all have different ways of integrating with external tools. And without knowing, you might end up building one or two different APIs, ways to integrate with information. I would say a bit like building the product. You start with one use case and see how that works.
But you think it could work so that that for example, there's a big German online shop for coupons who sell 50,000 coupons in a year. Well, 50,000, I don't know, something about this. And that if you buy it there, that at the end they ask you if you want to have a digital paper around it, click here, and then that will be transferred to our shop, for example. Or
Definitely. I think there's probably not a lot of information you need from them to be able to show the gift card in your application, right? You might want to show who it's from, who it's to, and the code itself, maybe some other information. I guess there might be a little bit of data security work to work out between the two different parties. If you're sending names and email addresses,
Yeah.
if you're just sending a code and a 10-letter code, doesn't matter, who cares? But yeah, I think all of that stuff is definitely surmountable, definitely easy to get over once you start doing it. I think for these shops, it would be easier to convince them that they should be doing this if they see that customers want it, if they see from the existing things that you're already doing, 10,000 people have signed up for this, or 4 billion people have used it already, like whatever,
Yeah.
then it becomes easier to say, okay, let's spend some time together working out what the API should be.
So to get back to the start version, would you recommend that we start with a web app? So it's easier to show somebody, or it's easier to create, and you don't have to have the Google App Store or something like this?
It depends. I think it depends on a few things. One of them is who is building it, what their skills are, what they are doing this for.
Yeah.
If you have students working on this and they want to develop in a particular area, maybe the only reason they want to work on it is because they think they can use a particular framework, or everybody working on it is comfortable with, let's say, JavaScript and not comfortable with another language.
Yeah.
Those would be totally valid reasons to choose basically anything, as long as you're not making yourself slow at the start. And I think then you later, as you scale, start to work out, how do we make it so it's very hireable? We can hire lots of JavaScript engineers. Maybe we should write everything in JavaScript. Something like that, I think, is for a later discussion. To begin with, whatever makes you most comfortable.
Okay. Koya said in the chat, but we need to send it to a phone, so we do need an app. Okay.
I would challenge that, I think, a little bit. If I was receiving this as a message, as somebody who's receiving a gift, I wouldn't necessarily have an app already installed, and I might find the user experience weird to install an app to then receive a gift.
Okay.
And I think that might be worth experimenting, maybe two different routes. Like, does it work with the app route better than it works with the web route? And I think you can probably experiment with that quite quickly.
Is it hard to, is it different way to code it, or is it, if you like, or is it easy to switch it if you code it for one part to do it for the other?
It depends. I think you probably have to do a lot of you'd probably have to do a lot of stuff from scratch if you do it again.
Yeah.
For a different platform, or a different for a native app, for example. But really, what you're looking for here is not to reduce how much work you have to do in the future, but to reduce how much work you have to do before you see whether people like it or not. And for that reason, I think that I would think about a link that opens on the phone, and even if you want it to be a PWA, a progressive web app, or something like this, can take you a little bit of the way towards proving that this has something there. I think if you're receiving a different gift every week, you might end up having an app on your phone where you can open them. and this is just my personal view, I don't really have that many apps that I use that often. Even Facebook, I try not to have the app. I just open it on my browser, on the web browser.
Me too.
But different people, I mean, maybe I'm not the typical gift card receiver, so I think it's worth trying out a couple of different approaches.
With your age and your so it's you are in the age who typical people, but you're not a woman, so
Perhaps not the gender, yes.
not the core people we are looking for. Okay. I really love what you said, because when we started the today, I talked with Claudia, and she asked what is to do now for making this, and I said, like, there are millions of things to do, and now it's after our 30 minutes talk, it's way less than I thought to do. I mean, it's still many things to do, but if we do like a first version, I think we can do it.
I don't mean to dissuade anyone from doing more things, and I think having lots of follow-on stuff with shops integrated and apps and things, I think can be a fantastic vision for what I think is quite an exciting product. I would use this. I think as we come out of lockdown in 2021, more and more people might be sending gifts or even buying gifts now for things that they can experience later once everyone's vaccinated. I think this could be quite cool, but that doesn't mean that you can't have little steps along the way where you are constantly proving to yourself, this is worth it to keep going. We shouldn't switch from a games company to a chat company, or like we've got this vision that we're going to keep pursuing.
Yeah.
But you're constantly receiving new information and making decisions based on that.
That sounds really, really smart. I would have made a fault in this for sure.
Great.
The chat said we are considering following Stack for the beginning, means MERN with PVA.
Okay, cool. I know what PWA is. What is MERN? Maybe I'm a bit old. Okay, I see. Yeah, I think those are rational decisions. Like if you're comfortable with JavaScript, if you're comfortable with Mongo, especially, I would say, like, I think that this could be a perfectly good way to start, a really good way to prove something quickly. I would guess, looking at the technologies, it's a pretty common stack for prototyping and doing something fast.
Yeah.
You might end up, this is a great example of where I think this is a good decision, you might end up with 5 million users and deciding that this is the wrong database technology for you. You might switch to something else. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You got to do something that works. And I think that you might be onto the right thing, to be honest.
Okay, great, awesome. Somebody else said, would it be possible for Chichu to contact him if he have a problem? Would be helpful for us. You actually can't say no right now. Oh, it's hard to say. If Kisenon, I guess if we have a problem, I guess I can call you.
Of course, yeah, no problem. I can help with a bunch of different things. Wherever I can contribute, I'm happy to.
Yeah, great. I'm sure Chichu is really smart and can do this actually. But, well, great, thank you.
Exciting.
So, are there any more questions? I think I have no more. Oh, now because you said it, I just like I'm sitting on a bunch of bees, in German it would be a bunch
Yeah,
of
yeah.
bees to just start, make one easy animation, doesn't matter, or two, and just show people this and ask them what do you think about it. The question is, would you use our product?
Yes, definitely. I have a lot of family and friends in the UK. At Christmas, with the postal service not being so brilliant, it wasn't so easy to send them gifts.
Yeah.
I would love to send them like tickets to come to Berlin or stuff to experience over the summer. I would absolutely use the product. I think it would be really cool.
Yeah, we thought about maybe it can be a product, maybe it changed, like going away from the gift sending then to sending messages who with even like not with a smiley, then with this, a bit the smiley 2.0.
I like it. That's nice.
Great. Okay. Is everything fine in London or at your home?
I'm in Berlin and everything's fine in Berlin, but not everything is fine in London.
Yeah.
I think the last I heard on the news 2 days ago is that 1 in 30 people in London have coronavirus.
1 in 30.
Which is pretty unpleasant. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my, that's a lot.
Mm.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Do they start with how's it called?
Impfing.
Yeah.
Yeah, vaccinations have started in the UK. I think there's been something like 1 million people vaccinated so far. So
1 million? That sounds a lot.
I think they started a bit before Germany and the rest of Europe. So.
But I mean, how big is London? How many people live in London?
London, I think, is 9 million.
9 million. Oh, 9 million.
It's a big place.
I thought it's a bit bigger than Berlin, and that's it. But it's double Berlin.
I think it's. Yeah, I mean, the thing about London is there's lots of people on the outside of London that say they're in London. It's basically what Brandenburg is to Berlin.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. If there's no other questions, I wish you all the best of luck. I'm quite excited to see the product.
Yeah, thank you. So if no one has questions, then thank you very much. It helped a lot, really. I was like, today when I talked to Claudia, was there's so much to do, and we don't come, it's not going, it's going forward really slow. And now I think, okay, tomorrow we start. Tomorrow we can show the first version. No, but you know what I mean. Thank you very much.
One last thing on that, like I had a boss one time who was insistent that every deadline should be impossible, and you should even set it for yourself. So you could say like, oh, let's just have something that works for our first customer next week. Yeah. And then you find a way of doing it. And
I think so too, actually.
That can be useful.
I mean, it's a bit, then you can say, okay, in 1 hour it's finished. But I think so. If you say in 3 months it's finished, then you will be finished in 4 months. And if you say it in 4 weeks it's finished, then you will have the product in 6 weeks. I know this as well. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Dom.
Thank you. Really Thanks everyone for the questions.
Appreciate that. I'm sure that helps a lot. And if we have problems, I promise I call you. Thank you very much.
Phone me again when you have 100,000 users and we talk about how to scale.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Good.
Maybe then
best of luck.
We can get you in the team.
Yeah, okay.
So we don't have to call you then. Great. Thank you very much, Dom. Have a great evening.
And you. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, allesamt. gegangen. Ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Ich glaube wirklich, also mir hat es wirklich viel, viel Inspiration heute nochmal gegeben, zu sagen, okay, die erste Version irgendwie erstmal fertig kriegen, um das irgendwie auch unseren Partnern zu zeigen, habe ich gedacht. Was haltet ihr denn davon, wenn wir jetzt gerade hier so noch dabei sind? Warte mal, sieht man mich? So. Was haltet ihr davon zu sagen, wir machen nicht, keine Ahnung, erstmal gleich 30 Animationen oder was auch immer, sondern machen 2, 3, um schnell fertig zu werden, um das zu verschicken und zu sagen, hey, wie findet ihr es? Boah, mit der letzten Aussage von ihm hat mich voll getroffen, genau darüber habe ich nämlich null Ahnung. Was meinst du da genau? Weil mit so einem Prototypen, wie du es sagst, Xenon, könnte man nämlich auch dann quasi auf die Partner auch einfach schon mal zugehen und nicht nur erzählen, was wir vorhaben, sondern den meinetwegen zeigen, hier, guck mal, die erste Animation ist fertig, so wird das aussehen und wir können davon, keine Ahnung, Hunderte machen. Wie man eine App für 100.000 programmiert. Ja. Na, wenn er schon für Ikea gearbeitet hat, da ist das ja schon, würde er das wissen. Das hätte man quasi noch fragen sollen, meinst du? Aber das können wir dann immer noch fragen, oder? Und für Surfer-Thematiken habe ich nochmal jemanden, der genau dafür zuständig ist, den wir da befragen könnten. Also alles, was mit Datenbanken und Surfern und so zu tun hat. Ich glaube, er nennt sich Datenbankspezialist. Irgendwie sowas. Also hat es da miteinander zu tun? Nicht, dass ich jetzt was Falsches gesagt habe. Hat Datenbanken und Server, hat das was miteinander zu tun? Genau, erst ein Prototyp mit 5 Euro Server. Ja, okay. Also quasi, wenn wir da ein Problem haben, da habe ich auch wieder einen echten, richtig krass guten Fachmann dafür. Und der schuldet mir noch einen Gefallen. Da habe ich sehr viel geholfen. Das kriegt man hin. Und er hat mir auch erzählt, dass das eines der gefragtesten Sachen gerade ist. Also ich weiß, was er verdient, und der verdient sehr, sehr krass gut. Das scheint wirklich sehr beliebt, sehr gefragt gerade zu sein. Aber man hat, ne, Leute, oder? Seht ihr das auch so? Man hat schon gesehen, dass der Dom, wie der daran geht, dass er das schon ein paar Mal gemacht hat, dass er nicht einfach irgendwas raushaut, was er denkt darüber, wie man das zu machen hat oder wie auch immer, sondern eher darüber gesprochen hat, wie baut man das Konzept dafür auf, wie geht man überhaupt vor, wie macht man das überhaupt. Und das hätte ich nicht so gedacht. Ich dachte, wir reden mehr über, welche Software wie irgendwie genutzt werden kann, aber es ging viel mehr darum, wie kriegen wir das Ding an den Start. Und das fand ich super cool, hat sich echt ein bisschen als was ganz anderes gerechnet. Okay, Xenon, okay, ich verstehe. Also wie gesagt, da kann ich jetzt nochmal sagen, ich habe es eben schon in Englisch gesagt, wir haben bei Fiverr ein paar Leute angeschrieben dieses Wochenende. Wir haben einfach nachgefragt, was kostet das? Wir haben kurz beschrieben, was wir haben wollen, was kostet das, was wollt ihr dafür haben und so weiter und so fort. Wenn dafür Bedarf ist. Soweit ich weiß, ich habe jetzt direkt davor, ich habe heute noch nicht reingeguckt, wir haben es gestern gemacht, hätte ich mal machen sollen, ob da schon eine Antwort kam. Ich glaube eher nicht. warum nicht, Chichu? Du hättest doch mal fragen können. Ich habe doch noch gefragt, wer jetzt noch Fragen hat. Er hätte alles quasi fragen können. Alles. Egal was. Aber wenn du dazu noch Fragen hast, dann stell sie mir, ich leite sie ihm weiter. Fertig. Ja, das ist auch, genauso ist es, Chichu, das ist typisch Dom. Er ist keiner, der quasi, deswegen ist er ja auch, leitet er auch das Ding bei sich, der alles außen durcheinander wirft, sondern eher versucht, dass du die Lösung selber findest, dass du selber weißt, wie man, dass du nicht quasi alles änderst, so wie er es denkt, sondern eher so machst, wie du das für richtig hältst. Ja, das, Kison, das hatte ich ja letzte Woche oder so mal gesagt, dass wenn ihr Fragen habt, gebt sie mir im Vorfeld, dann kann er sich darauf vorbereiten, dann hätten wir das jetzt machen können. Alles halb so wild, das können wir immer noch alles machen. Ich bin mir sicher, wenn wir das wollen, wenn wir so Fragen haben, dass er dann, dass er auch meinetwegen nochmal ins Stream kommt und nochmal kurz mit uns darüber redet. Jetzt wissen wir ja, was unsere Aufgabe ist. Unsere Aufgabe ist, die App erstmal so fertig zu designen, dass sie einfach erstmal fertig ist, dass Chichu und Freunde das programmieren können, dass wir die Animation, 1, 2 Animationen als Prototyp, also als erste Version mal haben und dass wir da zu den Leuten hingehen können. Zu den Partnern und auch einfach das rumschicken können, mal fragen können, wie findet ihr das und so weiter und so fort. Die Idee finde ich grandios. Hatte ich nicht so geplant, finde ich sehr gut. Also ich hätte den Fehler 100%ig so gemacht, dass ich versucht hätte, quasi das bestmögliche Produkt gleich am Anfang zu erstellen und dann einfach rauszugehen, statt einfach, ich finde die Idee grandios, einfach zu fragen, die Leute zu fragen, die es nutzen sollen. An alle zu schicken, die ich kenne, die weiblich sind und zwischen 25 und 35, das dürften ein paar sein, die kriegen das alles geschickt, ob sie es wollen oder nicht, und die sollten mir dazu Auskunft sagen. Ach, sowieso einfach an allen schicken. Ich würde es einfach grundsätzlich an allen schicken, die ich kenne. Jeden Tag in WhatsApp-Status reinschreiben, überall veröffentlichen, ist mir egal wo. Es kriegt jeder quasi, ob er es will oder nicht, kriegt es vom Kopf gehauen. Bis er sagt, okay, ich teste es. Warte, guck mal rein. Also die Startseite sieht schon mal grandios aus. Großes Kino, gefällt mir extremst gut. Also quasi das erste Bild, was man sofort sieht. Ich liebe es, wenn es quasi so extremst übersichtlich gestaltet ist. Und ich bin ein super ehrlicher Mensch. Wenn ich es scheiße finden würde, würde ich sagen, na, gefällt mir nicht so. Ich würde nicht sagen scheiße, aber es gefällt mir nicht so. Würde ich dann sagen. Ist das Spiel, ist das ein Spiel von dir? Ja, sieht cool aus, das Spiel. Und jetzt? Oh. Aber wie soll das Auto... Ah, es muss wieder auffangen. Ah, okay. Das macht Spaß, das zu gucken. Oh. Ah, ich verstehe. Und die oben drüber kommen, also umso höher das ist, die oben drüber kommen, dafür gibt es dann Geld, Gold, wie auch immer. Ja. Drive it. Okay. Also, Ich gehe Schritt für Schritt, ne? Dass es dann auf grün wechselt, soll ich das mal im Stream zeigen? Dass es auf grün wechselt, gefällt mir nicht. Ich fand vorher das Design schöner. Aber ich gucke mal, ob ich es hier zeigen kann. Dann kann man es so hier für alle durchgehen. So, bin ich ganz weg. Aber okay. So. Also, Startseite, dunkel. Ich habe ja gesagt, ich bin eigentlich nicht so der dunkle Typ, ich will über das Weiße, aber hier, das sieht richtig gut aus. Gefällt mir richtig gut. Dass sich auch ein bisschen was bewegt, gefällt mir gut. Dass es mega übersichtlich ist, man denkt nicht so, wo soll ich jetzt hin, was geht hier, sondern einfach easy erklärt. Dann Pfeil, wenn man draufklickt, geht es wahrscheinlich nach unten, ne? Okay, gut. Dann das Spiel. Jetzt, Chicho, sag mal, ist das dein Spiel? Ich kann es einfach nochmal sagen. Sag ich das dritte Mal. Also, großes Kino, der Start, das ist quasi die erste Seite, wenn man direkt draufklickt. Großes Kino, grandios, einfach, es bewegt sich was, perfekt, wirklich perfekt. Und ich würde es sagen, achso, meins ist gerade, ich bin gerade nicht da. Ah, okay. Aber ich mach mal Zoom aus, vielleicht liegt es daran. So, also erste Seite top. Dann, was mir nicht so gefällt, ist, dass auf grün wechselt. Das Spiel sieht grandios aus. Es sieht richtig nach lustig aus. Deswegen die Frage an dich, ob das dein Spiel ist, Chichu. Ich kann nicht aufhören, dazu zu gucken. Ich will immer weiter gucken. Okay. Was kommt dann? Achso, quasi, okay. Ja. Return Studios. Ja gut, dann ist es halt quasi dieses... Oh, das unten gefällt mir auch, das hier. Wie die Dinger gemacht sind, das sieht speziell aus, anders als sonst, gefällt mir. Grün ist nicht meins, das Grün gefällt mir nicht. Scheinbar bin ich kein grüner Typ. Okay, siehst du, gesehen und sagt, es wird jetzt schön. Deswegen sind wir wieder bei unserem Farbding. Ja, also finde ich richtig gut. Die Seite Bombe, dann auch das sieht gut aus. Dass das hier quasi abläuft, sieht gut aus. Dass es einfach drüben erklärt ist. Vielleicht, ich weiß nicht, ob ich es noch mehr erklären würde, weiß ich nicht. Keine Ahnung. Ich finde es gut. Richtig gut. Ja. Return games to the ambitious team, bringing the best mobile games for you. Großartig. Cool. Okay, geht nicht auf. Das heißt, soll man hier, okay, baut. Okay. Ich mag auch One-Side, also das ist quasi Einseitig, das weiß der, dass ich das mag. Jetzt habe ich kurz etwas mitbekommen. Jetzt bin ich zu gespannt. Bitte nochmal wiederholen. Soll ich jetzt nochmal wiederholen? Ich habe es bestimmt 3-mal wiederholt. Schreib mir jetzt nochmal kurz, Chicho, ob du irgendwas jetzt bis jetzt gehört hast. Sonst mache ich noch einmal. Wiederhole ich es gerne nochmal. Also wiederholen. Okay. Also. Die Startseite super mega gut. Da kann man auch das Werk unserer 3D-Designers sehen. Okay. Die Farbe gefällt mir sehr gut, das Schwarz, dass es ganz extremst übersichtlich ist. Ich liebe das, dass sich was bewegt, ist toll. Dass man muss nicht suchen, was man finden will, sondern es ist einfach quasi in your face, sieht man ganz genau, was will man haben, man findet alles. Grandios, die erste Seite grandios. So, dann, wie das gestaltet ist, dass man das Spiel auf dem Handy sieht, finde ich auch sehr gut. Das Spiel an sich sieht bombastisch gut aus. Also ich will einfach nicht aufhören zuzugucken. Ich will die ganze Zeit zugucken. Ich habe es, glaube ich, auch verstanden, wie es schon geht. Sieht cool aus. Ich würde gerne, das Spiel kann man das probieren. Wenn ich hier google, klicke ich gleich mal, ob das dann geht. Das Grün gefällt mir nicht. Aber Kiseno hat eben schon gesagt, ihm gefällt es, mir gefällt es nicht. Dass es wechselt halt. Es war hier quasi schwarz, was mir sehr gut gefällt, und dann wechselt es zu grün. Das ist nicht meins. Ist jetzt nicht dramatisch, aber mir gefällt es nicht so. So. Ja, dann kommen hier, wenn noch ein Spiel kommt, kommt das nächste. Dann mag ich auch mit Bild, wenn man die immer vorstellt, quasi die Leute mit Bild, mag ich. Das ist cool, wenn man das sich angucken kann. Und dann ganz besonders mag ich das hier unten noch, dass diese wie nennt man das, wie auch immer man die Dinger nennt, dass die mit grünem Rahmen sind, das sieht besonders aus. Man will da draufklicken. Also ich will draufklicken. Ich denke, oh ja, hier Instagram klicke ich jetzt drauf. Und sonst sind die eher so da und man denkt, ja, okay, sind überall da. Nicht weiter interessant, aber hier denke ich will draufklicken. 2-mal reicht. Achso, ihr habt schon, okay, jetzt rede ich hier die ganze Zeit, okay. Großartig. Toll. So, jetzt wollte ich hier draufklicken. Was passiert, wenn ich jetzt hier draufklicke? Kann man das hier spielen? Okay. Das heißt, ich kann es nur auf dem Mobile spielen. Schade. Ich teste es mal aus. Ist es dein Spiel? Was ist das hier? Okay. Schön. Ja, also gefällt mir. Habt ihr gut gemacht. Okay, ihr Lieben, also ein Prototypen fertig bauen und dann können wir losstarten überall hin und alle Partner voll quatschen, alle Leute voll quatschen, dass die es mal austesten sollen. Und dann gucken wir mal, wie es ankommt. Ich freue mich darauf, mit euch das zu machen. Am Mittwoch ist wieder Arbeitsstream. Dann würde ich gerne mit euch, dass man so das, Kolja, da wäre cool, wenn du wieder da bist, dass man da vielleicht das Design, also nicht das Design, sondern die App irgendwie so einigermaßen fertig macht, sodass man das Chichu, dass wir so eine mehr oder weniger Endversion haben für Chichu. Und genau, das wäre cool. Ich weiß genau, wenn wir sagen, wir machen es am Mittwoch fertig, dann ist es quasi nächste Woche Mittwoch fertig. Also kein Stress, aber dass wir das uns mal so vornehmen. Ja, alles klar. Chichu, ne, du hast das gelesen, was Kisenon geschrieben hat. Ja, also auch ich mache los. Auch ich wünsche allen einen schönen Abend. Hat mich gefreut mit euch wieder. Vielen Dank für die Fragen. Achso, sollte jetzt live sein. Okay. Wünsche euch einen schönen Sonntagabend. Also ja, das Spiel ist von mir, aber leider noch nicht veröffentlicht. Okay, schade. Sag mir mal Bescheid, wenn du es fertig hast. Ja, es sieht echt spannend aus. So ein typisches, wie heißt das hier? Dieses, wo man über die Wurzeln springen musste. Weiß nicht mehr genau, wie das heißt. Okay. Dann, oder durch die U-Bahn, ja, diese U-Bahn-Sache da. Die gehen immer, die Spiele. Alles klar, bis Mittwoch, 21 Uhr. Ich freue mich auf euch. Let's get done, dieses Prototypen. Das wird cool. Bis dann. Ciao, ciao.